Never put too much trust in your friends. Learn how to use your enemies. Today we are going to be talking about Law 2 of the 48 Laws of Power. The scary thing about betrayal is that it does not come from your enemies. It comes from your friends. Now, the word betrayal is defined as an act that would violate trust or confidence. What I take from this law is that you should never mix friends with business or money or anything of the such. Now, what it says in the judgment of Law 2 is, now I'm going to get into the habit of reading you guys the judgment at the beginning of each law. The judgment for this one of Law 2, it is, be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical, but hire a former enemy, and he will be more loyal than a friend, because he has more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from a friend than from an enemy. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them. This is something that can definitely be used in war. I'm sure it has been, but all of these laws that I am going to be stating still have an effect on the people today and how people today work. You should never mix friends with business or money or finance, because that will always cause an imbalance. To mix friends and business is death awaiting. Keep business and friends as two total separate entities. When it comes to your enemies, do not disdain from them right away. Depending on the circumstance you are in with this so-called enemy, they can be used in a way where they will not betray you, because they have so much more to prove to you than a friend does. A friend, 9 times out of 10, is always going to search for a favor out of you. A friend is always going to search for just some type of advantage they can gain just by the namesake of your friendship. And if you are a kind-hearted person, if you are a good-hearted person, they probably know you as the type to, if they ask, you will do. I'm sure there are many people who have even lended money to friends as a borrow because they needed it. And then next thing you know, it's months later, years later, and you still don't know where your money is. And anytime you would ask for it, they would say something slick like, oh yeah, let me give you a quick penny. But it wasn't a quick penny when they needed it. To keep a friendship, often unconsciously they would put up this little fog wall. They would only show you all of the good kinds to their type of friendship, but they would always hold back the parts about them that nobody is trying to search for. They may be deceitful in how they act with you. I've experienced it firsthand with seeing people act around me away and then seeing how they act around somebody else, which is the right thing to do when you are trying to gain an advantage on somebody. I do agree that you should always act differently with certain people to fit into how they perceive you. That is a law later on that I will be getting into. But friends, often than not, they will not be totally honest with you. They will be trying to take from you. And it's not as heinous as I'm making it sound. They will try to gain some type of advantage by being your friend. So they will hide what they have to in order to keep said friendship, because it is so precious for them and they need you. And this is in some instances. You may have a great friend, but me personally, I would never mix friends with business or friends with money and finance. And if I am to put into the same plate friends and money, they're not gonna have to pay me back, because one, that will just cause problems down the road in our own friendship. And if I do give you money, I don't need it back. The point of that is that friends will hold back the truth. Friends will hold back the terrible, the nasty parts about them in order to keep you as their friend or best friend or even acquaintance, because they know that at the end of the day, it is a good idea to keep somebody like you around if you have something to offer, that is. It may drudge up an unconscious negative feeling by offering a friend a hand. Let's say with a job. Unconsciously, they could develop a negative feeling. This is all based off of the person, because these are used for in different instances. They could get a negative feeling of maybe envy or resentment, because you are putting a sort of image into their own head of self-pity, as if you pity them, when you don't. You're just offering a friend of a helping hand to get them out of a terrible situation. Now, you've offered them this job. They may take offense to you offering them what you so have, because you have something that they clearly do not have. And then all of a sudden, you are seeing a side of them in business that you never saw in them as friends. All of a sudden, every single bad characteristic that you couldn't have possibly imagined being a part of them slowly start to reveal themselves. You may start to see them as lazy, as unreliable, as inconsistent even. But that was all a part of the ploy of friendship. I'm sure if you had knew them as any of those characteristics I had just now stated, you would not have kept them as close as you did. And what makes this so much worse is that the more favors that you pour into them, the more things that you do for them, even if they do ask for it, will keep on feeding into this image of self-pity that they've developed in their own mind. And the more you offer, the more unappreciative they are going to get of it, and the more they are just going to take and take and take. But even with them taking, it doesn't do anything for your friendship. Slowly, your friendship is going to start to diminish, because they're going to start to see you as a means to an end. They want to surpass you, so they will take what you have to offer. They will take what you have to give in the illusion of friendship, when in their mind they've already backed away from the friendship. But you feel you're being helpful to a friend, when eventually, after they've took everything they can, you don't even realize that they've gotten so close to where you are up to this point that they can easily overthrow you. This ties into the story of Michael III and Basilis. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing these names correctly. Michael, because of a change in power and leadership, he was appointed to the throne of a dynasty. Again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing he got put in the throne of the Byzantine dynasty. Oh, that sounds so wrong. And he had zero experience in leading anything. He had zero experience in running anything. He did not know how to lead, but he knew that if he was going to, he needed somebody he can trust. He needed a courtier, a trusted courtier. Now, all of the other powerful roles that come with being an emperor advised him so many other options, so many more experienced people for courtier, but Michael only wanted the one person he trusted, because this person happened to save his life while they were younger. When they first met, Basilis was just a horseman, always riding horses, cleaning up shit, the works. After saving his life, he was appointed to the head stable master for Michael III. And now Michael is an emperor, and so now the only person he trusts is the person who he feels as if he owes his life to, the one person he trusts, the person he thinks of as a brother. Now, eventually in time, they both fit into their roles. Michael leaning more into the role of an emperor, and Basilis, I don't know if I'm saying that right, fits more into the role of courtier, and he is doing his job well. But with the more that Basilis gets, he always wants more. He is beginning to get greedy, and so therefore Michael keeps on feeding into his greed. Basically, he's had problems with money, and so Michael just kept on giving him raise after raise, tripling, quadrupling the money he would get. Later on, Basilis convinced Michael to kill his uncle. His uncle was the one who had pulled the strings in order to get Michael into the throne and be called the emperor. Basilis convinced Michael that if his uncle was able to do that for him, that he could always do it again. And he kept on spewing poison into the mind of Michael. And Michael, trusting his courtier, trusting his best friend, the man who saved his life, eventually believed it and had sent for his uncle to be killed. Now, a couple of days later, Basilis comes to Michael and ask for the position to be the head of the army, which is what his uncle was. His uncle was the head of the army for the empire that now Michael controls. And being the best friend and feeling as if he owes his life to Basilis, he grants him this position as head of the army for his empire. Later on, he realizes his mistake, because now his best friend has a whole army at his disposal, has more money, more power, and more connections than Michael III himself. One night, while Michael was asleep, he wakes up to his own troops commanded by Basilis over his bed, stabbing him to death as Basilis watched. And then he made a whole tyrannical approach by severing his head and riding on the horse that Michael got him himself, and is now parading around as the new emperor of this dynasty. Basilis ended up getting full of greed. All he wanted was more because he got a taste of it. And Michael, feeling as if he owed his life to his best friend, gave him whatever he wanted, because in his mind, his friendship was worth whatever he had to offer, until he realized that he granted Basilis a taste of power, and that power ended up getting Michael killed. Friendship and love will blind every man towards his goals and towards his intentions. Heavy on the love, because a woman in your life is extremely powerful, and it can make or break you. You are far better off with a known enemy, with knowing who your enemies are, rather than not knowing who is after you, not having a clear view of who you should be looking out for. A Chinese emperor was very intelligent. He had kept friends at a distance, and I say friends in that way because his only friends were developed in his business. He had friends within his army, and he had friends aboard his council, but he knew the second that they would have the chance to rise above him, they would take it. So this emperor's closest friends ended up being his past enemies. His past enemies he had ended up sparing. His past enemies he had ended up being merciful towards, because who else is going to feel like they owe you their life and is going to try to prove to you something every single day other than a man who you had pardoned from getting the guillotine? You often do not know your friends as well as you think you do, and the more gifts and favors that you offer them is the less gratitude they will give you over time. Now, don't ever let the presence of an enemy disdain you or disrupt you, because it is way better to have a clear image and know who your enemy is than to go through life not knowing who is coming after you. Now, there is a reversal to this law, not one that I wholeheartedly agree with. The reversal to this law is that friends sometimes can be used for good in business or in finance or in certain situations. What I don't agree with in this reversal is that the point that is trying to be made is that friends can be used as a scapegoat, because people are never going to expect for you to lie on your best friend's name. they will be more enticed to believe that if you are throwing your close friend or your best friend under the rug, they are going to believe it, because they would never think that you could just throw and lie about your best friend and just throw them to the wolves that way. In my opinion, you should keep acquaintances for this reason. I would never use a close friend or a best friend, a brother that I have sat at the same table with, eating the same food under the same roof. I would never. So that's why my opinion for this reversal is that you keep close acquaintances for this purpose. As you know, there are two main parts of every law that I love to read. So I am going to read to you the in-depth described image and then the authority to this law. The image for this one states, the jaws of ingratitude. To know what would happen if you put a finger in the mouth of a lion, you would stay clear of it. With friends, you will have no such caution, and you hire them, they will eat you alive with ingratitude. This is the authority now. Know how to use your enemies for your own profit. You must learn to grab a sword not by its blade, which would cut you, but by the handle, which allows you to defend yourself. The wise man profits more from his enemies than a fool from his friends. Now, my overall take from this law is to never mix friendships with business, and to never mix friendships where money is involved. Also, to never offer more than what you are getting, because if you are offering more to a friend and they don't offer much in return, they are the person benefiting from the friendship, not you. A friendship, you should both be benefiting from. The same thing with a lover. You should both be benefiting in either respect, happiness, or you are both heightening each other in your mindset, health, and wealth, and your success above all. Now, when it comes to certain situations and you have enemies, I do agree that at times you should show mercy. Know your enemy first off. Know your enemy, because there are the enemies that if you give them another chance, they will try to destroy you again and again, and they will just keep on plotting until they are able to get what they've always wanted, and that is to see you fail. So know your enemies before you apply this law. But there are the enemies where if you grant them mercy, who else would you trust more other than somebody who feels as if they owe you their life, who feels as if they have the world to prove to you because they are not this person anymore? Now, I hope you have taken something great from this law, because nothing is stable in the realm of power. Even the closest friends can be turned into the worst of enemies. As I said, I hope you've taken something great from listening to my breakdown of Law 2 of the 48 Laws of Power. I did decide to just go in order with them, and I highly recommend that as you read this book, you also read along with the audiobook playing in your ear as well, because I found that I had understood it more, and that knowledge stayed in my mind while listening to the audiobook as well. So I might end up rereading the whole book with the audiobook as well, because I only did it for like the last 5 laws. So if there is anything that you disagree with, if there is anything that you think could be added toward this law, or if there's any law specifically that you guys really want me to talk about next, please leave it below in the comments, and I would love to hear from you guys. Now, as I said, I highly recommend this book for those who are trying to make a change in their life, and for those who are trying to be in the position to being never taken advantage of or manipulated ever again. A lot of people mistake this book as a book to teach you manipulation. But to me, it is all about how you perceive things. The same goes for life. If you perceive this book as a way to teach you how to manipulate, it can be used for that. But the main purpose, I believe, for this book is to show you how to not be used by other people, how to notice people's intentions, how to notice what people are doing subconsciously. Sorry. This book will teach you a lot about life, and so please do not disdain it because you think that this is a book to teach you about manipulation. It is all about how you perceive it. Alright, so as always, keep learning, keep reading, and I am rooting for you guys.